Hello guys, my name is Desmond and I welcome you to my lesson for today. Ladies and gentlemen, for today's lesson we'll be looking at Mathematics Paper 1 of November 2017 exam paper. So ladies and gentlemen, let's focus on question 2 of this question paper, which is that part of sequence and series. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, remember, for this type of lessons, I'm not really solving these questions, but it's just to guide you in terms of the procedure in which you might need to follow for you to be able to answer this question. Okay, if you want to check out a lesson where I solve these questions, ladies and gentlemen, you've got two options. I also conduct private WhatsApp lessons where I've got a group of learners who do different subjects grouped into one group where I provide mathematics and physical sciences lessons, some more subjects to be added as time goes on. So you can join that WhatsApp group where I am able to share my whiteboard where I write. You're able to participate. So in short, ladies and gentlemen, you're able to instantly engage with myself as I do the lesson. Okay, so in those type of lessons, ladies and gentlemen, that's where I solve these questions that I'm analyzing under this playlist. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, otherwise there are some lessons where I solve these questions, but I normally release those lessons towards examinations. But for now, I assume you've learned much about this chapter, so you can just use the information that you've learned in order to try and solve these questions. So what I'm going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to guide you in terms of how do you go about solving these questions. So ladies and gentlemen, let's now focus on question 2 of this question paper. Question 2.1 has got 3 questions. So these are the 3 questions under 2.1. You also have 2.2, which has 2 questions under 2.2. So let me do that just to confirm. Can you see, ladies and gentlemen? So the whole of this question, it's allocated 18 marks. Guys, not really complicated. Okay, so please do make sure that you listen attentively and you learn something new by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's now start with question 2.1. We're given a statement over there. They say given the following quadratic number pattern. Guys, massively important. Remember guys, you're mostly interested in knowing the type of the pattern given. Okay, in this case already it is indicated that you're given a quadratic number pattern. So in most cases, if they did not mention whether you've got a quadratic or whichever type of a pattern, you would obviously need to use this given pattern to find out if it's a geometric, if it's an arithmetic, or if it's a quadratic pattern. So ladies and gentlemen, what I normally advise my learners is that in most cases when you're given 1, 2, 3, 4 terms, it is most likely to be a quadratic pattern. But if it's only 1, 2, 3 terms given, it is most likely to be either geometric or arithmetic, because you only need to confirm by performing 2 calculations to check if you've got common ratio or common difference. But now, if you've got a quadratic, you still need to perform that calculation and again continue with those 2 to confirm if you get common second difference. Can you see, ladies and gentlemen? So I'm just teaching you in terms of how to notice the type of the pattern without you having to stress that much. So I've just given you a hint over there, ladies and gentlemen, to say if you're given 4 terms, then it is most likely to be a quadratic number pattern. But in this case, luckily, they've stated to say it's a quadratic number pattern. We already know. So you must use all the information that you know about a quadratic number pattern. Okay, so now the question 2.1.1 says determine the constant second difference of the sequence. Massively important, ladies and gentlemen. This question, it's allocated 2 marks. Okay, so guys, they are saying determine the constant second difference. This is the cream of the question, ladies and gentlemen. This is an instruction to say determine the constant. Massively important, which means it has to be constant. If it's not constant, it's not answering the question, and you know very well what is meant by constant. Determine the constant second. Ladies and gentlemen, it means you've got the first and they are looking for the second difference. Okay, massively important. Constant second difference. This guides you in terms of exactly what the question wants you to provide as part of your answer. Okay, so determine the constant second difference of the sequence. Which sequence? That quadratic sequence. Okay, so that's where you need to perform those calculations, ladies and gentlemen, and tell exactly what is that common second difference. By so doing, you score yourself 2 marks. Massively important, ladies and gentlemen. So please do make sure that you fully understand what the question wants you to do. Okay, so now question 2.1.2, determine the nth term Tn of the pattern. Okay, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, and this question, it's allocated 4 marks. Okay, so guys, obviously, if I remember very well, ladies and gentlemen, for this type of a question, you need, obviously, you've got that first value. I think if you do that difference and get that value, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, on your second difference, if you've got that value, then you can make use of this information, ladies and gentlemen, in order to determine the general or the nth term of that pattern. Okay, so guys, if you're not satisfied with the information that you've got, or you're not confident with the information that you've got in relation to sequences and series, ladies and gentlemen, please do check out my website www.solvingexampapers.co.za. Go to a menu bar top right corner and click on mathematics grade 12. Under grade 12 mathematics, that's where, ladies and gentlemen, you'll find a full package teaching all that you need to know regarding sequence and series. That should include arithmetic sequence, geometric sequence, and again quadratic sequence. And also, ladies and gentlemen, it should include the series. Okay, massively important, ladies and gentlemen. So it's all that you need to know in order to answer these questions. So guys, as soon as you check out that question, I am telling you, you won't struggle in answering that question. You just need to know, ladies and gentlemen, from that pattern, you just need to be able to know what is the A value, the B value, and the C value. By calculating these 3 variables, ladies and gentlemen, these 3 variables, you'll be able to tell what is Tn, because it's normally in that form of what is it? Is it a x squared minus let's say bx, let's say plus c. I'm just trying to indicate that this is that standard form of a quadratic equation. But remember, in this case, that x is represented by that n. Okay, so I just wrote this part of the equation to remind you that this is the standard form of a quadratic equation. But because we're dealing with sequence and series, or we're dealing with a quadratic a quadratic number pattern, then in place of x you use n. Okay, in place of x you use n. I'm not sure if you understand that part, ladies. So that means you just need to use the given quadratic number pattern to determine the a value, the b value, and the c value. Okay, so the standard form is a n squared plus b n plus c. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, trust me on that one. You need to check out those lessons in order for you to be able to answer all the questions in relation to this question 2. Guys, question 2.1.3 says, which is allocated 3 marks. Which term of the pattern will be that? Ladies and gentlemen, the cream of the question. Which term? Okay, so that means, ladies and gentlemen, you need to say n is equals to whatever number you get. It's more like they're saying which term of that pattern is negative 19. So obviously you're going to say n it's equals to term number 1, term number 2, term number 3. It's equals to 3. So this is what the question wants you to determine. That's if they said which term of the sequence is negative 19. Otherwise, if they say which term of the sequence is equals to negative 40, then you know a term which is equals to negative 40, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you just say n is equals to 4. Okay. But the tricky part, ladies and gentlemen, the tricky part in this case is that that number, negative 25,939, is too far for you to just keep on adding the difference, adding until you get to that number. So that is the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, you need to use an equation that you determined on question 2.1. You need to use that equation in order to find the value of n, for which the term of the pattern is equals to that big number. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, in short, you might find that for that question you just need to provide the value of n. Okay, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that you fully understand what the question wants you to calculate. So now let's move on to the next question, ladies and gentlemen. Question 2.2, you're given a statement over there and they're saying the first 3 terms of an arithmetic sequence are 2k minus 7, k plus 8, and 2k minus 1. Okay, massively important, ladies and gentlemen. Massively important that you are able to notice the type of the sequence that you're dealing with. Luckily, just like the first question, luckily, in this case, we are also told that we've got the first 3 terms of an arithmetic sequence. Then you know you've got common difference. Okay, massively important, ladies and gentlemen. In this case, you've got common first difference. Okay, so that means this can be equated to that, and again this can be equated to that. Okay, massively important, ladies and gentlemen, that you fully understand. Let me check. I just want to make sure that I've explained that part correctly, ladies and gentlemen. Let me remove all of that and say, remember, the first difference is that minus that, isn't it? So this the second difference, the second calculations where you find the difference is that minus that. Okay, so in short, I'm just saying you have k plus 8, the whole of this, minus 27k minus 7, close. So I'm trying to say this can be equated to, obviously, is that minus that, which is 2k minus 1, in brackets, minus 8 minus, in brackets, k minus, plus 8 in brackets. So ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to say you can equate that and that. Why? Because you're dealing with an arithmetic sequence, whereby with an arithmetic sequence you've got the first common difference. Guys, let me just try to re-explain it here so that it makes perfect sense. Let's say you had 4, you had x, you had maybe, let's say, 6, just as an example, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just trying to say, remember, when you say that minus that, it becomes x minus 4, right? And again, that minus that, this is equals to 6 minus x. Okay, so what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen, remember, because this is an arithmetic sequence, it means this must be equals to that. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because when we're dealing with arithmetic sequence, we've got the first common difference. The first common difference means if there you've got 2, also there you must have 2. That's why we can equate these two, because we already know it's the same. Okay, what's the reason for equating it? So that we are able to calculate the value of x, okay, of which one substituted there. When you say that minus that, it has to be equals to that minus that. You understand? So ladies and gentlemen, same applies also on this question. I hope it now makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. So obviously that k plus 8 minus that 2k minus 7, you can equate it to 2k minus 1, and again subtract k plus 8. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I hope it makes perfect sense. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, in that way you are able to then start with the questions if you understand that part, because you might find that it might ask you to calculate the value of k. So let's see. The first question: calculate the value of the 15th term of the sequence. What an interesting, tricky question, ladies and gentlemen. In this case, they do not want you to calculate the value of k, but they want you to calculate the value of the 15th term. What is the value? The value is a number, ladies and gentlemen. So do not in the end say maybe k minus 1 as part of your final answer. They do not want you to write anything in the form of k. They just want a value, which is a number. Okay, what number? Is it the number or is it the value of k? No, it's the value of the 15th term of that sequence. What does it mean, ladies and gentlemen? It means you must first find the value of k. Okay, as soon as you find the value of k, substitute it there and rewrite this term or this sequence in a form of numbers. Okay, so you might find that, just as an example, maybe you have 2, then you have 4, then you have 6, right? Then from there, use this pattern to find the 15th term. Okay, so obviously you know all the characteristics in relation to an arithmetic sequence. So that means you might need to first or maybe you might straight away just use that formula to say term 15 will be equals to your A value, whatever it is, you write it there, you plus into n, obviously is 15 minus 1, and the difference of that pattern, then you substitute it there, you punch the whole of this, and that is the 15th value. Okay, so I hope it makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's move to the other question. So remember, guys, in case if I've explained something which confused you guys, you've got an opportunity to ask me those questions in those WhatsApp lessons that I conduct. That's if you watch this lesson until the end and you're able to derive some questions in case if you didn't understand something that I've explained. So ladies and gentlemen, 2.2.2, calculate the sum of the first 30 even terms of the sequence. What an interesting question. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got even terms. We can also have, I think it's even numbers or odd numbers. Okay, so they've specified to say even terms. So if you don't know mathematically what even means, then you won't be able to answer the question. I think I've explained this in yesterday's WhatsApp lesson, where I was saying we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got the odd numbers. What are the odd numbers? One of my students, Lerato, said the odd numbers are those numbers which are not divisible by 2. From my understanding, she was simply saying if you divide 1 by 2, you get a decimal number. If you divide 3 by 2, you get a decimal number. If you divide 5 by 2, you get a decimal number. So a decimal number, it could be 0.5, as long as there's that comma number. It could be 1.5, it could be 2.5, it could be whatever, ladies and gentlemen, comma something. Okay, so the even numbers are those which are divisible by 2, whereby when you say 2 divided by 2, it just gives you that number. If you say 4 divided by 2, it just gives you a number. If you say 6 divided by 2, it just gives you a number. So that means you need, for this question, ladies and gentlemen, can you see, it's massively important that you attend some of my private lessons, because we learn from each other, ladies and gentlemen. We've got those learners from well-established schools, from those learners from schools which have got the best teachers. So we are able to learn from each other on each and every lesson. So I'm saying, by the end of each and every lesson that I conduct, ladies and gentlemen, I try to make sure that we learn something new. It's not only the learners who are learning, I'm also learning from you guys. So ladies and gentlemen, obviously you know what is the formula to calculate the sum for an arithmetic sequence. So obviously they're saying the first 30 even terms. Okay, so that means from that equation of sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, take out the even numbers. Okay, take out the even numbers, ladies and gentlemen, and write them there, ladies and gentlemen, to say this is now the new sequence. If you need the difference, find the difference of this sequence of even numbers, not the difference of that original sequence. Okay, I'm not sure if it makes sense, ladies and gentlemen, but I will surely do a lesson where I solve this problem. In case if you're watching and you feel like you wish to give it a try and see your final answers or compare, ladies and gentlemen, just comment if you're watching this from my YouTube channel, or otherwise if you're watching it from Facebook, just make a comment there requesting a link to a lesson where I solve these questions. That's in case if you're watching this lesson maybe a few weeks after it was uploaded and you were not able to join my WhatsApp lessons. So ladies and gentlemen, this should bring us to the end of our lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did, ladies and gentlemen. So I think this is the time where I need to quickly sign out, ladies and gentlemen, and say my name is Desmond and I'm out.